FDR, confiscate the gold. We had a new situation going. Everything was going to be built on credit. Spend money to save the nation. There's too much of a coincidence. This man, Hjalmar Schacht, co-founder of the German Democratic Party, which, from 1918 to 1933, then it became the Nazis, and he was a big part of that. Now, the economic miracle they're talking about is how Germany got Adolf Hitler Man of the Year in Time magazine twice because of the way they came out of World War I and built the armaments, and it was a miracle. And Hjalmar did it. He was the man. And, they have, because he lived in 1970, they have the backstory of like, oh, he tried to help assassinate him. He was arrested by the Gestapo, put into a nice prison, but he's one of these guys. He's in on it. He led the lie that fiat money is the way you can do it, and it always leads to war. You can find many places where it's like, oh, Hitler hated the Freemasons. Then why did he appoint, the man to run the economy that was a Freemason as early as 1908? That's a question you're going to have to ask all you, was Hitler really a bad guy? Yeah, they're all in on it, man. So what did they do? They elected Hitler in 33, and with the magic banker, Miracle Man, get to work on those public works, put everybody to work, build the autobahns, don't give them time to spend their money, but let them be saving it and enjoying, a guaranteed peaceful lifestyle for a while. Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal was exactly the same thing at exactly the same time. And as you'll find out with any further studies, it was because the solution, the innovative solution to the problem of government deficit was MIFO bills, promissory notes used for a system of deferred payment to finance Nazi Germany's government banking and the rearmament. And MIFO bills were small companies that turned into Volkswagen and IB Farben that were granted loans out of thin air with MIFO bills, fiat money, so that they could start hiring anybody they want to build anything they want to prove that white people, because they, and you study this history, you'll find that Germany was actively emulating the racist and one-drop rule that was already law in the United States. Quantified. You can't drink from the fountains. Germany wanted that. And they went about to get it with the same way at the same year with let's move to fiat money. How closely were the Jews and the Nazis working together, and what were the limits of this plan? Well, you probably heard of the Crystal Night, the night of broken glass, when the Nazis did a false flag and blamed the Jews and pushed it all over. Well, when that happened, let's just put it up. The Miracle Man, put forward a plan in which Jewish property in Germany would be held in trust and used as security for loans raised abroad, which would also be guaranteed by German government. The German government. Funds would be available. Funds would be made available for Jewish immigrants in order to overcome the objections of countries that were hesitant to accept penniless Jews. Hitler accepted the suggestion, you know, the leading spokesman for the let's get a Zionist thing going, and they came to the Havara Agreement. Banking is a lie. This transfer agreement, the Havara Agreement, was between Nazi Germany and Zionist German Jews. Signed on August 25th, 1933, finalized 3 months later, moved to Palestine. Make a new country. Thank you. Who really funded it and started the movement over there? I know they had a lot going on in World War I, but when you get 60,000 German Zionist Jews moving to a country and tell them they're fulfilling biblical prophecy, it's going to be noticed. And it was all done with fiat money. All right. They also made a little coin to commemorate their Havara Agreement. Let's get some let's get the ball rolling. You know, this was done, you know, let's start it in 33, get them moving over there in 34. By 1948, the Jews have said, God provided us this land as a miracle. Hallelujah. No, they're lying. It wasn't. It was planned, like the banking was planned, like the imminent collapse of our dollar is planned now, like the Reichsdollar then. But I'm sure the Nazis have a backup plan, because it's all the mafias of the world that are all working together to start one more big war. But first comes the righteous judgment of the United States, the one that they propped up. So the rest of the world will feel good when we go down, because, well, it's not going to hurt them that bad. They have the Russia-China brick dollar that is also a fiat money, because banking is a hoax. So it did allow, as it says here, you know, the Anglo-Palestinian Bank agreed with the Reich Economics Ministry in 33 and continued to 1939, moving any Jews that wanted to from Germany, because, you know, they were, you know, helping some of their friends maybe get out with their money. They could purchase German manufactured goods for export, thus salvaging their personal assets. So some did salvage their personal assets by moving to a place that mainstream Christianity believes God made them a country, not the Nazis. And you know how usually they give the money in, you know, well, in modern terms, it'd be this much. Well, what would 77 million Reichsmarks and $22.5 million in 1938 currency, when you could go to the movies where a dime and get popcorn and everything else, or get a loaf of bread for 3 cents or something, you know? It was a lot of money. And again, they don't want to talk about it in our modern money, but it's how the whole plan of the banking system that was supported by the Nazis, which is trying to cover up our really racist past here in the United States and act like, oh, we didn't have anything to do with them and we're not like them, when we, at the same time, we're doing the exact same thing. We're going to get back to a lot of banking. It seems like there's a tab in the way here for personality rights. And these are legal classifications, individual group rights, where there's personality rights. You are a person, And we do have natural rights that were given by God, not the deist God of Thomas Jefferson, but until we start taking advantage of them somehow, and they're not going to just roll over. This is ingrained. This is why, I teach the hard, doctrine of now is not the time to dig in and fight them and rise up and fight the beast system. It's to run away and let them tear themselves apart, because that's what's going to happen. Back to the banking is a hoax crisis. The secret meeting of February 20th, 1933. Well, that was Adolf Hitler, Hermann Goring. They needed to raise 3 million Reichsmarks to pass the Enabling Act, and somebody just gave them the money, These people showed up all probably like shot. Hilmar Schott. There he is. You're throwing gang signs, other Masons saying, don't worry, we're going to invent money. And they did, and they spent that invented money, and they founded IB Farben, a big company that's still a powerhouse to this day. Hermann Goring gave a short speech in which he emphasized the importance of the current election campaign. It's always the most important one. Keep you voting. The Weimar government was going down. You've heard it took a wheelbarrow of dollars. And when you're $34.5 trillion in debt, like our nation, we're being judged. They're going to be called in. Then Hitler declared he needed complete control of the state to crush communism. We must first gain complete power if we want to crush the other side completely. In Prussia, we must still gain another 10 seats. And in the Reich proper, another 33. Amazing. That is not impossible if we exert all our strength. Then only begin the second action against communism. All this free money. So, well, again, IB Farben was there. They were small then. Rudolf Hess, that is quite mysterious, occultic, Aleister Crowley type, demonology, whatever's going on here. You cannot let your imagination, go crazy enough when you think that this banking system is here to help you. These are all of the monies that were transacted to start this, to say, now we can become the nation that can host the Olympics, build everything, become the envy of the white world. And it was because they were emulating the laws that were in effect at the time, the science that was in effect. They measured skulls to see if you were white enough and smart enough to be in the SS. It was that time, and it was crazy. So right after that meeting, they decided, well, we should have another conference, and this one won't be secret. Let's announce that we're going to have a reduction and limit the armaments, which is basically saying we're going to be producing a lot of armaments, but don't worry, we've set limits. And in the meantime, everybody back to work, spend the money. Hitler and the other people were providing, you get a cruise after 6 months if you meet your goals. Little did they know slave labor would be doing it later, and that was part of a plan. We'll take over this country, we'll take their resources, we'll take their people, put them to work. They had it all done because, Geneva, Convent of the League of Nations. This was 1934? Well, between 1932, so they did the secret meeting while this was going on between February 1932 and November 1934. People after World War I said, how come they get weapons, we don't? Okay, you can start building, but only so many. It was, blame everything on the nation building World War I. It was like goodbye kingdoms, unless you're Habsburg and Roman Catholic, still a few small kingdom whatever they got going there in England. They're not Protestant or Anglican. It all happened in World War I, and it's deceiving the nations. To deceive the nations, you've got to get rid of kingdoms and make nations. It should be so easy by now. I do want to take a second here. This is also their excuse because of their cover-up of history of how they could build the Atlantic Wall, the Maginot Line, and, thousands of miles of tunnels in such a short time. It helps them explain away history because they know they didn't build that road, right? I'm trying to sound like Barack Obama. Basically the spending and the oh no, they're going to attack us in 1933 based on that time schedule was the build up for what's going on now. At that time, though, it was Joseph Stalin starving his people to death. They felt they had to do that. They couldn't feed them. They needed to feed their army and build weapons. Japan in 31 provoked an incident, invaded legally China, saying, well, we've got to grow, and they're not doing it right. The League of Nations are said, well, I guess we can't stop them. And it's all been going on, and it will continue. Banking is a joke. They planned the stock market crashes. This is not happening by accident. The International Conference of the Bretton Woods in 1944, that was like, let's just quit faking it, and it's not going to be gold or silver backed. It's going to be backed by the petrodollar. Now, they faked that it might have some, till 1964, some value in gold and silver. But the language and everything else was there that no, international funds are based on petrodollars. And that's what the trading is going on. They're, disorganized is an understatement for what was going on in the mid-1800s. California gold rush, arguments about communism, capitalism, Marx, Lenin, Trotsky. Come on, people now. Smile on your brother. And it was always going to be set up for money. And these things always ended badly with, oh no, the silver market crashed. Oh, we don't want silver, we want gold. We want to go back to silver. Bimetallism is the answer. No, it would seem for the last, since World War II, it's fiat money and petrodollars, and we're run by the mob, and the Nazis are in charge of NASA. You can't make this up. This is all banking problems. There's the Bretton Woods, nice hotel in the middle of the war where they figured out the future. They knew that they were going to fake an atomic bomb. Japan didn't know they were going to get double-crossed and stabbed in the back by their allies, the Nazis, and that, Russia, the United States, Great Britain was all going to attack Japan at one time, and then say, while that was going on in China, they faked atomic bombs so that you could live in fear all of your life that, oh no, every day of my life, if we don't count on these governments to work it out, we're going to die. To come from July 1st to the 22nd in 1944, well, they established the International Banking, Reconstruction, and Development. Of course, that led to the International Monetary Fund. This affected what happened today and yesterday. And at the first Bilderberg meeting and the first Trilateral Commission, it was all because the world worked on the Bretton Woods system. And now it doesn't. Those days are over. Foreign exchange markets, they had it all figured out, and it was only going to work for a very limited amount of time. And of course, it was always based on these people, yeah, John Maynard Keyes, so, wasn't he a known homosexual? But they put up with him because he was so smart and he could do that miracle out of fiat money thing. And so they listened to him, but kept it on the QT down low, that, but it seems like they did that with a lot of perverts in Great Britain, didn't it? It was like Jimmy Savile. I mean, you could work your way up pretty high being a known pedophile or a known, whatever. This is banking today in the post-world order, and they're working together like the Republicans and the Democrats. How can you have an argument about something as simple as abortion for 50 years now? When's life start? Oh, we don't know. Oh, really? You still don't know? So there's calls for a new Bretton Woods. Well, when was that? Since a financial crisis that was started on purpose in 1971. The Nixon meltdown, So let's go back to the top of this. The new international monetary system. Well, that's Bretton Woods. No, that's not the Nazi coin. These are just, trying to show that gold and silver has been used, and well, we need a new system, and gold and silver used to be used, but somehow I don't think they're going to fall back on it. Sometimes formal have been imposed on people by regional rulers. Well, we're about to, we're going to live that. Other nations that have been developed have lived it, but the United States has not, and nobody remains the king of the hill forever. And the only reason that you could be allowed to maintain an illusion was if they were all in on it together. And this is going to help the rest of the world breathe a sigh of relief of like, oh no, the big bully has all been taken care of. We can get back to foreign market exchanges. Everything is going to be good. Oh, look, they even have a Jesus and the Money Temple references, that, we all know that there's a good way and a bad way to do money, but the bad people always do it the bad way, culminating in the Nixon shock, where though no longer de jure, that means it's a de facto law. It's not legal, but in fact, that's the way it is. So you got a reserve currency that's fiat based. What are you going to do? Do you want to buy that bread they're selling, not de facto based on facts of law, but de jure, just like, hey, we took over, now we're in charge, we're selling bread for this money, do you want the fucking bread? They're going to talk like that, and people are going to go, give me the bread. Because nobody knows how to make bread anymore, hardly. Well, I mean, there's percentage-wise, because there's bread in the stores now, go get some as long as it's organic. And I'm telling you, all of the times of these gold coins of like, was only to get you to dig in on, I've got to buy gold and silver. I've got to buy gold and silver. Is that really going to help you feed your family when what happens happens? They're not going to kill you for that gold or silver or demand you turn it in like they demanded you turn it in before and give you pennies on the dollar. You really think that's what it's all about? So that everything you've learned right now is you can stay in the city. It's going to be okay as long as you've got some rice and a gun and some Cougarans or some Coronas or something. We've all been down that road, man. It's time to let it go. This is a very famous picture of a woman during the Depression. This picture haunted her all her life, because her kids are dressed raggedy. She doesn't look that good. This woman is a school teacher. Dorothea Lange, the migrant mother, destitute pea picker in 1936? Well, she was a school teacher, and she went back to school teaching, but she had a couple of really bad years. But this wasn't her life, and it's not how she wanted to be remembered. But they want you to think that, well, once you get into it, it'll just give the government time and it'll all work out. Yeah, when they're going to be faking money, setting it up now they're planning on going underground. Whatever they're doing right now to, I think, fulfill prophecy when they want to kill everybody. They think it's another reset and that things are out of control and they can give another run at the white person golden age, because they really do believe in evolution. They really, really do. What is the international monetary system? Oh, we looked at that one. I had that one up twice. The post-Bretton Woods system. Is there such a thing? Okay, I had that one set up for different spots, but I think I touched them. The history of money. Look how much they hate barter. In his book, Debt, the First 5,000 Years, anthropologist David Graeber argues against the suggestion that money was invented to replace barter. The problem with this version of history, he suggests, is the lack of any supporting evidence. That, they want to say that unless it's a government-backed dollar saying this silver's worth that much, it's not really, money, because money is for one thing, debt. That frustrates me when all of a sudden it takes off like that, because I can't figure it out. Debt, the first 5,000 years, because in their mind, money is to facilitate debt. He argues that credit and credit alone is money. Now, that's the modern. They want you in debt. They want you paying off your bills and paying your taxes, not questioning. The old I owe, so off to work I go. And they're proud. I'm paying my taxes and it's good for a while. And then it's not. So you find a new wife, and then it's good for a while. And then it's not. And so it's not very biblical, is it? What they want us to do with our time and our money in their system. But credit as money, economics holds that the world's current monetary system became debt-based after the Nixon shock, in which President Nixon suspended the link between money and gold. Modern money is debt, and debt is money. Modern money is debt, and debt is money. Is that the way you want to look at it? Welcome to your fiat money world, in which you're hanging on to your 503c(b), 401k, Roth IRA, whatever you had, because you're invested. You got to vote. It's got to work, or you're not ready for that, are you? Nobody, there's going to come a time and a place where you're going to read in the Bible that some people were ready and they didn't stand and fight. They had to run and get encompassed about. And it's going to be sketchy, not all fun. And you're not going to be escaped by a rapture and let everybody else go through it. No, you're in it. The history of a touchstone. Really? So a touchstone allows anybody to quickly determine the purity of a metal sample? Draw a line with gold on a touchstone, it'll leave a visible trace, and you can tell whether it's 14 or 24 karat. It just works. And Well, it's been around for a while, but it wasn't until the United States, when we got a hold of this, then all of a sudden it was the touchstone of the situation. The London economics crisis, another one in 1933. Currency exchange rates, fight the Great Depression. What are we going to do? Well, you're going to get in bed with the United States and Germany and start doing the fiat money, start spending on armaments, and then, sometimes maybe they'll go over, but oh well, it's working. Build the Hoover Dam, do this and that, start spending money to start explaining away the confusing things in our recent history. Oh my goodness. They got to mention the gold standard too and the London economic crisis held at the new Geological Museum. Mudflood much? They had a World Economic Crisis in 1927. White people in 1932. These people were planning the world because white people ruled the world, because this is the time when Satan's loosed. And they're trying to make people not understand that true Israel, spiritual Israel, the true family of God is from every nation and every tribe and every tongue. And the whole idea of any type of, well, we're smarter than that group, they're smarter than this group, we should run the world. Well, we built this, and well, my mom and dad wouldn't have been that bad, and I never owned a slave. Those ring hollow when the effect is that the rest of the world was not given a fair chance. You can't say that I'm wrong on that, as much as it hurts. I know you didn't own a slave, and you can't imagine you would have done that. They did. They didn't let, your grandparents didn't let people of color drink out of the same fountain because it was illegal. Maybe some did, like it was illegal to drink prohibition whiskey, but a lot of people thought, well, that's the law. That's the law. The MIFO bills again. They were named after a mythical company, the promissory note, and that's what helped the rearmament, because that's what the central bank was designed to do. The government needed to spend a large amount of money to fund Depression-era reconstruction. If you can't just print it, that's what America did. That's what we do today. We live in fiat money, and they only collect your taxes to give you the illusion that you're helping when you're not. They print the money. They're going in debt. Your taxes and your friends' taxes for this year doesn't pay the debt, doesn't pay the interest. It's going up always. It was an imaginary company. And that fake balance sheet entity, they were supposed to last for 6 months, but they had the provision for indefinite 90 days extension. And so those companies that decided, yeah, we'll be in on your illegal plan, we're going to get paid 4% on it. And basically, IB Farman and the other companies of that group were founded because of that. Essentially, the MIFO bills enabled the war machine to run a greater deficit than would normally have been able. It's a setup. What is this? Gravity recovery and climate change, NASA, German Aerospace Center. They're still working on it together, to discover gravity anomalies, to explain away It doesn't seem like we're on a globe. Well, let me give you a gravity anomaly. We got the, NASA, the German, it's Nazis working together now. Yeah, they'll give you a token black astronaut every now and then, but white people run NASA. It was a plan from the beginning, and it wasn't only Operation Paperclip. There were other people, get the people into the banking, into the schools, everywhere. This was a planned situation. Just a short tab to show you that they were always working together. Look at all of these. We talked earlier about the fortifications. These are all, huge 100-mile tunnels and caves that had to be explained away. They're not showing the actual insides in the tunnels, but people, this is a cover-up. And while they're doing it, they're trying to take your money. How do you even pronounce that? Festung from Ordvarsbrogen? Pretty close. 100 concrete defense structures, earthworm camp they found underground. Here's the, they're not going to show you any pictures of it, but yeah, sure, in that time in the war with all that fiat money, you might as well just convince them that, there was plenty of time to build starfort tunnels and fortified fronts, not only in Germany, but in France and everywhere else. And the Maginot Line, I mean, all underground. This is only a portion. They hollowed out tunnels. You've seen me break this down and show you that, these are completely hollow underneath. And all they want to just show you of the top of this is, hardly, it was so intricate. And it was, not only one mountain, but many. The Alpine Wall was another one. They were all built during that time only to explain away the runaway wars that led up to Armageddon and the reaping, because after Armageddon and the 1,000 years, there was another catastrophic, put in your sickle and reap, the grapes of wrath of destruction. And these things were left over. And when people came around again in 1711, they had to explain this away. And why not fight your way to an explanation again and say, well, we did this because we were mad at Franz Ferdinand got murdered in Serbia, so it escalated to a world war within 6 months. Okay. You still want to believe that? Go ahead. But now, you'll never believe, the national redoubt. Why didn't Switzerland get attacked? Because you couldn't. They had those tunnels. They had everything. Every one of these fake houses is one of those Maginot tunnels with a gun underneath it. How many did they say they had of these? 3,000? No, it was more. They say they began in the 1800s. It's lies. Like, these are lies. These are lies. It's all lies. And I'm looking for the number right now. I'll find some numbers, but in the meantime, the Switzerland National Redoubt fortifications, and you've seen my shows on the Maginot Line and others. Let's say, when compared to the contemporary French, Belgian, German, Czech fortifications, were much more extensive and heavily armed than the hollowed out mountains in France or the Siegfried Line or the other 100-mile border, no, you know. So this was the big deal. Just wanted you to know that. I can't find that number yet. And they can't fake these because they didn't need to rearm them during World War II. So they have to assign these to my big brother Randy's favorite years between 1887 and 1890, with his sweet spot being 1888. They're saying a lot of these were, you know, that's, you know, they had to push it back because they can't make up the excuse that we had to build these during the war. So, oh, they had to build them up for some other fear, you know. Come on, people, now. Smile on you, brother. Mannerheim line. I mean, we're really into the lines right now, so this is another one. You gonna show us any pictures? Hey, what's up, honky? Hey, Cracker, did you build that? You build that road? I'm sorry, I called him a cracker. And you're thinking, like, there's some people going like, I'm the meanest person in the world. I'm not. I was just joking. I'm trying to make white people realize maybe we should get picked on a little bit. We're like everybody else. It's not like, oh my goodness, you insulted my grandma. She was white. She's not a cracker. You know what? How old's your grandma? Either your grandma or your great-grandma was fine with people drinking out of separate water fountains. Unless they told you about it growing up, about how they stood up against it. Have you gotten that talk? My grandma didn't bring it up. She had plenty of opportunity to. More lines. This one just, I just couldn't figure out this picture. I thought I'd show it to you. Go like, what? This is secret entrances to tunnels of World War II? This just doesn't make sense. Okay. Well, I guess they, you know, maybe they did build some of their own ones during the war, but that looks suspicious. Frontière de Fier. Oh no, another military line from 1678? Military histography. Double-line fortress. No, there's your double-line fortress. The Garden of Holland. Huh. And it's that all of the French forts that were built by Vauban, which is they're saying that all of the star forts built in the 16 and 1700s, they're calling that the Frontière de Fier. Is that, you know, that I don't feel as confident. So this is when it's saying, you know, he wanted these double line of fortresses constructed because this king, you know, the 14 is so badass. He's everywhere. He did everything. He spent everything. He hired all the people. And these are only some of the star forts. You know it. They're the ones with the blue stars here. You know, these are ones that they have to give him credit for. And everybody else copied him all about that same time. Oh, if Vauban can do it, we can do it. How do you think he paid for these? How do you think they paid for them? By loans. But this is how they cover history, you know. How did he do these, you know, first time formulated strategic visions? Well, he may have been inspired by the old Dutch system. Well, you know, there's a, you know, it could be a rabbit trail, but it's a lie. They didn't build them when they said they were going to build them. This is all a lie, and it's all been done on banking. And banking is a hoax. Well, there's that Dutch city that was a big part of it. All right. Well, is that really it? So that's it on the banking. I've got the proof on the pharaohnology, the pharaohnological society, but I going to make a different video about that. I've touched